Hi everyone, I'm Gyan and I work as the Ecosystem Director at the Starknet Foundation. I've been in the Starknet space for over 3 years now. It's been an amazing wild ride and I've enjoyed every moment of it and I'm excited to talk to you.
First of all, what inspired you into developer relationships?
I had been a software engineer. I did my engineering bachelor's of technology from a very reputed university back in India. And I did a lot of software engineering work in the first 6 years of my career.
Wow.
But I was super not into it. I did like coding a lot, but I think it was just something about the corporate. It was not
Wow.
getting to me, and I was just like, what is happening? And while I was doing that in corporate, I discovered that I really did enjoy education. And I was doing a lot of educational stuff before as well, but of course, as you know, hobby. And I think that's what, and then I started trying to figure out what do I really want to do? Do I want to become a full time teacher at a university?
Yeah.
What should be my next steps? Because I was not enjoying my current software engineering career. That's when I kind of just organically went into developer relations. I started doing a lot of education, X technology kind of initiatives. For example, when I started with Web3, it was back when Solidity was very, very new. Solidity was like 0.3, 0.4. I think now it is like 12, 13, or even higher. People didn't know much about it. I was like, I will educate these people on how to write smart contracts. I used to take workshops on Ethereum and stuff. I think that's how I stumbled into developer relations very organically. I didn't think, oh, I have to take this role, which is called developer relations. I was just doing like education. I love technology. I love teaching people about technology. That's how I got into it. And then with Starknet, of course, I joined Starkware in Feb 2023, and I was doing some meetups and educational initiatives for them already back in 2022. That's how I kind of just naturally fit into the developer advocate role there. And I've been in that role for a while and now moved to the role of being an ecosystem director, which is a little bit more ecosystem facing, more founder facing, because that's what we need at this time. That's long answer, but I hope it helps.
Since your role has changed, how has your relationship with startup founders been? How do you think they can come on Starknet? How will Starknet also empower them to also reach their vision and goals as founders?
Since my role has changed in the last year or so, maybe more, a little bit more than that, I've been working with a lot of startup founders and really trying to figure out what are the challenges and how can we as an ecosystem provide them a full-fledged support. I think there are a few things here. The first one is, in order for more startups and founders to come and build on Starknet, what they need is a supportive environment, not just in terms of like we have the fastest tech, we have the best tech, we have account abstraction, all of that is great. But from a founder perspective, they need someone to talk to. And that's where our ecosystem team comes into picture. We act as point of contacts when startups are very early into our ecosystem. For example, that's one of my expertises. I work with a lot of early stage startups that are building on Starknet, and I offer them support in terms of like, hey, do you want to brainstorm with me on GTM? Do you want to brainstorm on how you can actually make money out of this business?
Yeah.
When do you want to launch your token? Or does it even make sense to launch a token for you? I think all of these support mechanisms are one of the biggest rails that we have built that will help Starknet founders come and build on Starknet. And I've totally enjoyed this process as well. It is very exciting to see that your early stage companies come into the ecosystem and then kind of grow and then become big. And that's my ambition, that my companies, the companies that I'm working with, should eventually, hopefully, at least one should become a unicorn, right? That would be a good success story. But it's been a good evolution for sure.
In your own experience, can you share a moment where your efforts in Starknet grew the community massively, or the impact that you believe you have made in Starknet community that you also want to grow on?
I think my impact in the Starknet community has been largely in sort of two divisions. One is, I think, from an India geography perspective, I've tried to at least create this awareness. Starknet is cool. We have all of these interesting things. We provide support for founders to come and build. I think that has really had a community effort. You can also see that there are a lot of Indian startups here that are building and stuff. I can see that it has worked, right? And I would say actually a lot of my impact came from the work that I've done in the past. I've done a lot of several activities around educating people on how to build in Cairo, how to write Cairo smart contracts, even though I haven't coded in a year now, right? But I feel like a lot of that work and people, developers from 2, 3 years ago who watch my DevRel videos and things like that, now them having started their own companies and coming and being like, hey, I watched one of your effects, right? I don't know if I can really calculate if there is a numerical impact that I created, but I can see that all of the work that we've been doing from the past is now finally taking shape, and people are more and more interested in coming towards Starknet. And I feel a lot of that is what we have created, a safe space, a voice for people having that comfort to come and ask questions.
Yeah.
And I think that's primarily been my sort of contribution to having grown the Starknet community.
It's good to hear. For founders building on Starknet ecosystem or those thinking about to start, what would be your recommendation to them, or how will you recommend they start that journey? I know that it's not the same for everyone, but there
Yeah.
are tricks to it whereby you can easily know and see how you can also leverage Starknet.
I think one of the core things for them would be to understand why Starknet would be a good ecosystem for them to build in. There can be different factors for it, right? Especially the narrative arcs that we are working on. For example, BTC5 is something that we're pushing a lot, right? We also do a lot of work around payments. Like we want to support, because payment seems like such a natural use case for Web3 itself. It could be that, and but these are not the only things we support. Of course, if you're a good founder, you have a cool idea, we are more than happy to support you. But I think for them to understand why Starknet makes sense to them, that would be, I feel like, their first step in terms of starting their journey. And that could be like, oh, this narrative fits me, or they provide me a kind of ecosystem support that I'm not going to get elsewhere. I'm going to stick to this, and want people who want to commit. I think that is important. And then once they do, I think then it's all about building their first MVP, their first version of it, and then battle testing it and figuring out who are the users that they're building for,
Yeah.
and things like that. Working with us in terms of understanding what the market is going to be like, how are they going to make money. I feel like incremental steps. And then from a pipeline perspective, we also have different initiatives that they can be a part of. For example, in our team, we run a base camp where people can come and learn. That can be just
Yeah.
their first step. Just come and learn about Starknet, no commitment whatsoever,
Yeah.
right? Then we have a hackathon just after, where you can come and build a proof of concept or build a minimum viable product if you already have a good team, right? Then you already have all the rails that are required to go out there and test in the world. And then you can say, here is something that I've built, I need your help. Hey, foundation, I need your help in kind of understanding a little bit more about where I could go to talk about this. Can we work together? How can I get some support? And then go out and talk to their users that I built this and I feel like this is a problem. Do you also think this is a problem? And if I built this, then do you think this is a legit solution for your problem? Of course, a lot of work comes from the founder side, but it's always the case, right? Even in Web 2, Web 3,
Yeah.
wherever you go, people who are committed, who are motivated to building something will always build something, right? Even if they pivot a few times, that's okay. A lot of work definitely comes from the founder side, but we are trying to enable them by doing a lot of our stuff as well. Once, let's say, they are ready, they have an MVP, they kind of want business mentorship. That's when we have this initiative called Startup House, where we're going to run one in Buenos Aires, Argentina now. People can come there. They already maybe have a few users, but they want to understand like how to scale. What should be my next go-to market, given that market trends are like this right now? How can I position myself as a founder in a place of strength? Things like that is where they can sort of seek help in Startup House. These are some of the programs that we run internally as well to get them the help that they need.
In your own case, you are like Starknet takes the founders from the beginning level, such as hackathons, to also building global businesses, which is fun. One more question: how's your experience in Bali been? Because I know people want to know. I've heard about it. I've heard good things. I've seen good pictures. For you, how is Bali?
It's been really great, to be honest, right? I've been traveling a lot the last couple of months, but I'm so glad that I was able to make it because I got to talk to so many teams And I feel like having those IRL conversations is almost, it's just irreplaceable, right? Sitting on a call, Zoom call, and then discussing about stuff. This is the way of life now because we live globally. But having known who that person is behind that Zoom call, having actually met them, having an understanding of who they are, it makes it so much more easier for us to work with them, especially for us in the ecosystem team, because this is our job, right? We
Yeah.
work one on one with founders. For me, it is really amazing because I got to meet so many of them, and then so many of them who haven't even met before, right? But actually have had conversations over Zoom and stuff. It's been a great experience. I think everything is very well organized, and I've had the space to kind of have these both one-on-one and group conversations, and have some of these peer-to-peer sessions and things like that. It's been amazing. I've had a really good time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you for this conversation. Hopefully, we get to connect more. In case people want to reach you, what channel is best for you?
I'm on Twitter at Gyan Lakshmi, which is GYANLAKSHM. That's my same handle on Telegram as well.
No.
Telegram or Twitter, I can be a bit slow on Telegram sometimes because I'm traveling or just taking a break, etc. But Twitter, not that many people DM me, so I'm almost always responsive.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Awesome,
And thank you
yeah.
for the conversation as well.
Thank you, Timothy. Thanks for your time as well. I
Thank
hope
you.
you grew a big fan base.